the same field as him in high tech. The CEOs of Google, IBM, Microsoft do not want to follow that path. And they are taking care of their own destiny with putting a serious business in place, especially the one from Google, which is the Calico company. We have probably heard about this. With Art Levinson, which is the CEO of Genentech. Genentech was the most successful biotech company in the US. Discovered what we call targeted therapy, which I will discuss a bit later. And brought also Ray Kurzweil, which is known as Mr. Artificial Intelligence in the US. So these people believe that they will take care of their own aging process. Solving tests probably not happen, but at least to live longer and live better. Let's see. So I will discuss a bit about the future of medicine, talking about the robotics, the new imaging techniques, the telemedicine, of course, the telemedicine. I discussed a bit about my company here at the same time. And I will move to the molecular biology, which is a very important field for the future. Because whatever the disease you are talking about, you go down the line, there is one gene defect. And if we can change this, we can cure the disease. But of course, we are not yet there. So, what about recent advances? In the middle of the previous century, 150 years ago, there was a surgeon who discovered microbes and germs. And they started to wash their hands. That was probably one of the most significant advances in medicine, because people did not die from infections after being operated. Then, more recently, we discovered what we call minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery. Just make small holes, and the surgeon will basically operate from underneath the skin. In 2001, there was a very interesting breakthrough in robotics. There was a French surgeon based in New York who was operating a patient in Strasbourg, in France, 7,000 kilometers away. And this surgery was called Lindbergh surgery, for reference of the abdomen. Of course, you have heard about the 3D surgery, 3D imaging, which is making a lot of progress also. Smart surgical glasses and metabolic mapping of tumors is something which is coming now. Meaning to say, it's very difficult when you operate a patient to see where is the border between tumoral cells and normal tissue, especially in the brain. So this kind of new technique will exactly map the place where there is tissue to be removed because of the disease process. And very soon will be what we call ultrasound surgery. People with tumor in the brain will not need to be operated again, opening the skull. Ultrasound through the skull can treat the tumor. So the bioengineered patient exists already. For instance, the pacemaker. Pacemaker is in place for over 30 years, which regulate heart rhythm. Patients can have also deep brain neurostimulator for Parkinson's disease, for instance. Some who may have a risk of having arrhythmias may have what we call cardiac defibrillator, which means if this kind of patient gets a very serious, life-threatening arrhythmia, he can be shocked by the device because he has basically 1 or 2 minutes to live. So if it's not done by this kind of device, he's going to die. And there's insulin pump, which is very famous now for treating diabetes. So there is already something happening and effective here. Of course, telemedicine will be very important, linking the patient to the doctor. That will become more and more popular because of the shortage of doctors. This is the number one reason. Especially in Europe, there are not enough doctors anymore. To graduate as a GP in France, you need 10-year studies. And the salary of doctor, believe me, is not as high as before. So very few candidates will go in medicine. But doctor go also on the e-medicine with a mobile platform, and I think for you, you develop a lot of high-tech device or high-tech platforms. There will be a lot of applications in this field to connect doctor and patients, mobile system. Give also data on medical. Also for the patients, much easier for them to follow up their disease, for instance, to control their blood sugar, or to have a system to get information on medicine, on treatment, on doctors. So this is common already a reality here. But coming from the last few years is the connected device. That will be a serious revolution in the field of medicine. A lot of medical devices will come because sensors are getting very cheap. The network of connected device is already a reality in many places. There was a very interesting speaker a few months ago about this. So this will come, a kind of small scanner. People will be able to assess through the skin different parameters, biological parameters, without going to the hospital. So this is very interesting for high-tech company. So very soon we will have a patient, let's say a diabetic patient, who needs to control his blood sugar on a regular basis. He have a pump, a system, placed underneath the skin here, which will transmit via internet to his cell phone the information which will be relayed to the computer of the doctor. The doctor will know exactly what is the level of blood sugar, whether he has to increase or decrease the dose of the medicine, which will be sent back to the mobile phone and back to the phone, and so that the blood sugar will be controlled. It means the patient doesn't need to go to hospital, spend 1 hour traffic jam to reach, spend in the waiting room of the doctors, go to the pharmacy to get the medicine. So everything will be done. He will just sitting in this place, watching TV, and the treatment will be adjusted. So this is coming very soon, and I think it will be also a strong benefits also for the patients. From the high-tech point of view, the cyber security will be key here. Because imagine somebody can hack the system and change the parameters, can be a big trouble. So cyber security will have a big future also here. So let's move to one topic I wanted to mention earlier, molecular biology. Targeted therapy. This is about the treatment of cancer. Treatment of cancer is going to totally change. Most of you know that cancer needs chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is a medicine which basically kills fast-growing cells, but also kill many other cells. That's why people lose their hair, cannot tolerate on the stomach, vomiting all the time, because it's not specific. Targeted therapy, like rituximab here, will bound to one single receptor and block the tumoral cells. Maybe not kill the cell, but prevent the cell from growing or spreading also metastasis. This is the way, blocking the cancer. We need to say cancer treatment is moving with the targeted therapy as a chronic disease. People who have cancer, like people having diabetes, will live with this for many years. So this is already existing here, which means before, on the left side, all the people having a problem will get chemotherapy. Nowadays, what is happening, everyone will have a specific treatment for this specific gene which is defective on this particular tumor. Problem. Cost. Huge cost. It's not just 2 or 3 times more than the previous treatment. The treatment for targeted therapy is easily 100,000 less for the first year of treatment. So you may not need so many years, but if you don't have a good medical insurance, a lot of people will have problems. And by the way, if you live in Thailand, I hope you have a good medical insurance, because medical care here is very expensive. So this is about stem cells. Everybody knows about stem cells. A lot of future good hopes about this. There are different types. Adult stem cells, which you can harvest from the fat, are multipotent, meaning to say they can turn into 1 or 2 different tissues. But if we take the embryonic stem cells, which are pluripotent, like the one in the middle, can turn to any type of tissue, brain, heart, or liver, and that is, of course, a lot of hope to replace defective organ. The problem is when stem cells are in the new body, they develop to the new organ that they can also spread to places which we don't want. So this, on the bottom and right side, there are some patients who receive stem cell therapy and then get kind of a tumor with liver cells located in the brain and in the spine. So that's not very funny for the patient. So this is very important to control this and not believing in all the stem cells advertisement you see here in Bangkok to rejuvenate your skin and so on. You have to be very careful. We are still at the early stage of development of this new technology, but it's very promising. So this is for my friend Fred to make me Angelina Jolie. So it's about genetic testing. So this is very genetic testing is important and very difficult to do if the person has some background in the family of genetic disease. In that case, in her case, mother, grandmother had breast cancer. It was very logical to do this testing, BRCA1 and 2, which was positive for her, and that's why she had the double mastectomy, removal of the breast. At that time, the breasts were not like this. No sugar. You will see also on the internet many genetic testing targeting individuals. People who do not have any genetic background, genetic problem in their family. But just to try to advertise, why not? You are young, you are just 22, 40 years old. You may have some genetic predisposition to certain disease. So why not to do genetic testing? Don't do that. This is actually prohibited in France, but it is very active in the US. For a few $100, you can get full genetic testing for over 200 genes. And what are you going to get? You get something like this. Your own risk will be assessed versus people who are in the same group, basically sex will be matched, the area, style, occasion, etc. And it will give you what is your risk as compared with your own population. So in this case, you have a low genetic risk of having macular degeneration, which is a disease of the retina, and you have low risk to get stomach cancer. That's good, you are happy. For the next two, osteoarthritis, which is joint pain, and migraine, medium, it's the same as the general population. But you get, always, whatever the report you get, you will get higher risk for, in this particular case, Alzheimer and lung cancer. So you get this information. And what do you get next? Nothing. Because there is no preventive treatment for Alzheimer. And there is not really preventive treatment for lung cancer unless you have not started smoking. So this is something we should not do. Now, the gene therapy, this is the real future, but it's still scientific fiction for the time being. Because the only way to change a gene which is defective inside the cells, you have to carry a good gene with a virus. The virus will be the vector. In the vector, the virus has to enter the body and goes to the right organ, then penetrate the right cell, and place the good gene in place of the defective gene. But there are many problems which can happen. First, the virus can be killed, or the virus can be inducing an infection, or the virus can place the gene in a wrong position, which can be also very damaging. So this is very good in theory, but in practice, it is for the future. You know this beautiful logo?
Yes.
This? From which company?
Angelina Jolie.
Exactly. This?
CEO Health.
Bravo. Albert Levin, right? So let me talk briefly about what I'm doing. I own company, CO Health, ethical medical outsourcing. Ethical means ethical. So it means basically doctor to doctor. So I have three activities. We have three activities. One on the left side is high-end medical checkup. So we do high-end medical checkup for CEO. That's why we call it CEO Health. It's a medical checkup where doctors wait for the person and not the other way around. And we can place 10 doctors just to do the full clinical assessment of the person, which is recommended above 50 years old only. 50 years old. On the right side is strategic consulting. In the middle is medical referral. So I just focus on medical referral because you might be interested. So it comes from one rationale. Most of you are not from Thailand in the room, so you may have been already experiencing some kind of culture shock going to the hospitals, but I see that most of you are very young, so much problems. But basically, the first one, you have a medical problem here in Bangkok, you have some symptoms, and you don't know which doctor to see. Because in Bangkok, we don't see general practitioners. We go straight to the hospital. When you go straight to the hospital, you see specialists. Because you are found, you see specialists immediately. So the problem is which one to see. If it's just a skin problem, you know you are going to see a dermatologist. But if you have some basic pain somewhere, you are not too sure which one to see. So that will be a problem. The second is more important. Hospital. Most of the hospitals have the same accreditation, which is the highest accreditation in the US, which means that hospitals are good hospitals. But in hospital, everywhere, like any business, you have good and not so good doctors. Not everyone is competent, or highly competent, not everyone is ethical, and not everyone is capable of connecting to the patients and really communicating with the patients. And the third, as you are also coming from a country like Europe or the US, you may also consider to return to the country in some cases. So, what we do, we just simply connect the person who has a medical issue directly with the right specialist. How we do that? 25 years experience in the medical profession in Thailand. So we have a knowledge about who is specialized in this particular discipline, who is good, ethical, and also can communicate. And that beauty is free, totally free, including the advice, because we work with the hospital a bit like a broker. Okay, to conclude quickly, how to keep fit in the moment while waiting for the genetic testing. It takes some more time. Here you can see two persons. This lady on the left side, 91 years old. 91 years old, she can run marathon, 7 hours. She can come to Bangkok to next marathon. This person, this Indian person, 100 years, can run marathon. So that's a good example of without genetic testing, without stem cells, you can still be in good shape up to 100 years ago. 100 years ago, sorry. But now the challenges are still the same as many years ago. We have multi-resistant bacteria, so this is still a big problem. Smoking. Smoking is probably the most serious issue for health, because it is suspected that 5 million people die every year from smoking. Obesity epidemic, especially in Thailand, we have a big issue on that. And also for those who are using the phone, the radio frequency emissions, which is related to brain tumors. If you are interested, let me know. I will send you articles which I wrote on that. I study a lot on that. There is a direct proof that telephone do induce brain tumor. Of course, you don't see that in the internet. It's always very deeply in the ground, but it does induce problems. So in the meantime, just focus on the 4 pillars of healthy living. Good food, exercise, don't take any toxic, especially cigarettes, you can take a wine, especially French. And also enjoy also yourself, try to fight also the stress. Once in a while, every year, when you pass 45 years old, do a meditation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gérard, for this wonderful presentation. Now you understand why French people drink a lot of wine, because French doctors are a little bit tough. Is there any question for Dr. Lalonde?
I read last week, I think that there have been in France surgery by a robot. Do you know the state of the art about robots in the US or in Europe?
For the time being, robots are basically good money for hospitals. There is no proof that robotic surgery improve outcomes in the long term, meaning to say people will have longer life. There is no proof on that. And a lot of surgeons believe that it can be good in some cases where it can be complicated. It may help also in terms of bleeding, may limit the bleeding in some particular patients with high risk of bleeding, for instance. But basically, it's much higher cost with, at the end, the same result. But you will not get this information. They will tell you that it's fantastic, with this you have no pain, you won't bleed, and you can run a marathon 2 days after the surgery. Yes?
Other question?
Do you think,
And one last.
sorry.
No, please, your question and then one more.
Okay. Do you think one day we will not need any doctors to make a diagnostic and to make a treatment?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You will get
Computers?
the IBM is developing a platform which is so sophisticated, the Watson Health from IBM, coupled with artificial intelligence, which has much more knowledge than the team of best specialists in the world. The problem is, medicine is not only science, it's also an art. The art comes from the touch. In humans, you think a machine will touch your heart, you have a really serious problem. So here, definitely computer will assist, but at the end, if you really want to have a good management of your problem, you still have to see somebody maybe touching your heart.
Is any machine look like woman?
Inflatable.
There was a last question. Please raise, give your name and your disease.
Not that yet. Just a question about still robotics. About robotics. A while ago, I was involved in a project where they were looking at finding a way to circumvent the shortage of cadavers for surgeons to practice. And they were working on haptic devices, like basically just before an operation, you get these haptic devices which give you the feedback, 3D glasses, and you can practice your operation, especially the one that were not very common. So the surgeon can could rehearse the case. Do you know what is the state of the art right now?
No. Sorry.
Okay. That was kind of cool 20 years ago. I was just wondering what the state is now.
But interesting.
Yeah, they were doing like a full, like the guy, the slice. They did a full 3D mapping of the guy, and then you can work on a 3D, and then you get the feedback in your scalpel, so you can practice the cut of the operation.
Yeah, it looks like a stereotactic type of surgery now, which we do for in the brain.
But just for training. It was just for training.
Just for training.
Okay. All right.
The guy is on display at Madame Tussaud.
Not that guy.
Gérard, please come back, and I think we have something special for you. Nice picture. You are the recipient of our Speaker Award.